For a Buddhist, there is only one objective: to completely end the cycle of rebirth upon leaving this life. But what if you dedicate your entire life to practices, only to find they fail you at the exact moment of death? A prominent Pure Land master has boldly pointed out that the requirements for liberation in certain Mahayana and Theravada schools are completely unrealistic, even for monastic practitioners today. According to him, relying on the saving power of Amitabha Buddha is our only foolproof lifeline, prompting him to ask, why not just follow what Shakyamuni Buddha said? But if it's that simple, why doesn't every Buddhist follow it? First, let us look at why the Master's reality check is terrifyingly accurate, and second, the deep historical and logical reasons why some Buddhists choose not to follow. Part 1. Why Amitabha Buddha is the only hope for Buddhists seeking liberation today. Anyone with a basic understanding of Buddhism knows the immense importance of the final moment of consciousness before death. Specifically, whether that final consciousness is wholesome or unwholesome plays a decisive role in which realm the person will be reborn into. This is exactly why the Master's core argument hits so hard. He asks a brutal but highly realistic question. How can anyone expect to maintain a calm, perfectly focused, and wholesome consciousness on their deathbed, especially when dealing with things like dementia or unbearable physical pain? You don't even need to be on your deathbed to understand why this is terrifying. Just think about the last time you had a severe migraine, a terrible toothache, or awful food poisoning. Remember how quickly your mindfulness and meditative focus completely vanished? If a simple headache can shatter our concentration and ruin our state of mind, how can we expect to maintain perfect, unshakable meditative absorption during the terrifying transition of death? This is why the Master argues that relying on Amitabha's help and vows is the only foolproof way out of the 6 realms today, and not through self-effort. Part 2. The non-Pure Land perspective. Now, let's address the Master's fundamental question. Why don't other practitioners just follow what the Buddha said? To be fair to non-Pure Land Buddhists, it's not that they are stubbornly ignoring the Buddha. Rather, they have historical and logical reasons to question where these texts came from. While there are many important and profound questions raised by masters and practitioners who were well-versed in Pure Land Buddhism, I have just selected 3 of them for our discussion today. Here are the 3 questions for us to ponder. 1. Moggallana's mother. Pure Land tradition explicitly states that beings in hell, hungry ghosts, and the animal realms are fully included among the sentient beings of the 10 directions, whom Amitabha vows to save. Knowing this, we have to look at the famous story of Venerable Moggallana using his psychic powers to see his deceased mother suffering intensely in the hungry ghost realm. He went directly to the Buddha to ask how to rescue her. If sincerely reciting the name of Amitabha Buddha is the ultimate, most compassionate, and efficient way to rescue suffering beings, even those in the lowest realms, why didn't the Buddha just tell Moggallana to recite Amitabha Buddha's name for her, or to have her plead for Amitabha Buddha's help? Why did he instead institute the Ulambana offering, requiring massive food offerings to the entire Sangha to transfer collective merit? 2. Moggallana's tragic death. Pure Land sutras state that even those who commit the 5 deadly sins can be pardoned and reborn in the Pure Land by sincerely chanting Amitabha Buddha's name. But if karma can be bypassed or purified so readily through this practice, why wasn't Moggallana taught to do it? Consider his situation. In a past life, he had attempted to end the lives of his own parents, a grave sin that ultimately resulted in him being brutally beaten to death by a rival religious gang in his final life. The Buddha saw that coming. Why did he choose not to tell Moggallana to seek Amitabha Buddha's help and dissolve that heavy karma before it manifested? 3. The First Buddhist Council. During the First Buddhist Council, right after the Buddha's passing, Venerable Ananda recited all the discourses from memory. While past Buddhas were mentioned, the name of Amitabha Buddha and the Western Pure Land were completely absent from those earliest records. Consider this. There were 500 fully enlightened arahants convened at that first council. By any reasonable measure, it would not have been difficult for any of these highly learned disciples to foresee that after the Buddha was no longer around, future practitioners would find it nearly impossible to liberate themselves through self-effort alone, and would desperately need the lifeline of Amitabha Buddha's vows. Yet, not a single word about him was recorded. It was also not difficult for them to foresee that this would inevitably leave room for future Buddhists to dispute whether the Buddha ever taught it at all. To sum up, it is highly unlikely that such a credible council would have omitted it, if the Buddha had actually mentioned it. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Please keep it respectful. We're all here to learn.